Rasmussen. She works with the Kansas AGRABILITY project. It's a project that works with some land-grant universities here in Kansas, and they help farmers who have disabilities be able to continue enjoying the farming life and doing what they've done their whole life. So I'm just going to turn it over to Karin and let her talk about her program. And she's got her lovely little table over here. And if you don't have one of these, I'll come around and hand them out to you. But we've got brochures from the program as well. So let's welcome Karin.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to try to talk loud. Can you guys hear me in the back? Okay, if you can't, you'll just have to wave or something like that. Anyway, thank you for letting me speak here this morning. After what you heard the first session, hopefully what I'm going to present will give you an idea that there is some hope for those individuals who do survive their accidents, and that there's some alternatives for them to continue to farm. So that's why I'm here today. Get this to the right place. Okay, managing the farm role. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is give you a good idea of what Kansas AGRABILITY is about, some little bit of risk data. I'm going to present some case studies that we have worked with, how to refer somebody to our program, questions on AGRABILITY, and a little bit about our overall program called the Assistive Technology for Kansans Project. Because we have a lot of services that we provide, and I bet you might find some of those services helpful to people you work with as well. First of all, the National AGRABILITY Project, the goal is to promote success in agriculture for people with disabilities and their families. And another goal is to enhance the quality of life for farmers, ranchers, and their agricultural workers with disabilities. And in your map, you can see that what is yellow are the states that have the National AGRABILITY Project. It is a federal program. You have to apply. If you get the grant, you get it for 4 years. Kansas has had 4 years, starting their 5th year of having the Kansas AGRABILITY Project. So there's a lot of stipulations and guidelines and rules and things that we have to do, and it's kind of a big honor to be able to be called an AGRABILITY state. It is the home base for AGRABILITY is in Purdue, at the University of Purdue in Lafayette, Illinois. And on the bottom here, I do have the website, and let me see if I can take you there real quick. Cannot locate internet server or proxy for right now. Okay, that's interesting because I could do it before. So we'll just go on. There is a national website that has a lot of resources on it as well. To be a AGRABILITY state, you have to be supported with other agencies, and one of those has to be normally your land grant university. So as you can see, Kansas State University is our partner for the Kansas AGRABILITY Project. Dr. Slocum out of Kansas State is our coordinator of the overall project based out of K-State. We also have the Southeast Kansas Independent Living Agency, and are often referred to as SKILL. And for those of you from this area, SKILL is equivalent to what you know as DSNWK, or Developmental Services of Northwest Kansas. So this program provides services to people with disabilities, primarily adults, but also younger individuals as well. And then the third partner is the Assistive Technology for Kansans Project. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but it is a federally funded program. Every state has an assistive technology project, and it works with individuals from birth through life to give you ideas, strategies, programs, assistance to help you be as independent in your home or your recreation or your work community and so forth. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but first let's talk about AGRABILITY. So our services include education of rehab and rural medical providers. So our job is to let those providers know. So reaching out to you is a wonderful opportunity to let you know what AGRABILITY is. We do public awareness presentations to the public, farmers, ranchers, agribusiness, extension offices. We go to the farm shows. We go to the Women's Day out in agriculture, which is in Manhattan. So we try to let people know what our services are. And we also do services directly to that farm agricultural worker to do an assessment and to provide ideas and strategies on how they could continue to work on their farm or agricultural business, and then give them training. So just a little bit of statistics. This is from the National Children's Center, and it has something, it represents farm and youth, our youth on the farm. There are 893,000 youth living on farms. 51% of them are working on the farm. And we hire an additional 265,000 youth to help us for seasonal work. And unfortunately, about every 3 days, a child dies from an agriculture-related accident. And that's 25% with machinery accident, 17% motor vehicle accident, such as a tractor or an ATV or other vehicle, 16% from drownings. And animal-related accidents are higher than other non-animal-related accidents. And the working youth injury is higher in agriculture than any other kind of agricultural type of field when it comes to youth and injuries. Oopsie. We also have some statistics from Farm Bureau saying that farming is one of the most dangerous professions in America. 700 farmers die each year from a farm-related accident. 120,000 individuals are injured each year from a farming accident, and 100 children die each year from a farming accident. So for those 120 individuals who are survivors, we have Agribility to try to give them some strategies. So the purpose of Agribility is to promote success in agriculture for producers with disabilities or chronic health conditions, including farm members and their employees, or farm members, family members, or their employees. And that includes seasonal workers, operators, and so forth. Another basically, to be an individual that Agribility can help, you have to have some kind of an agricultural product that you make $1,000 a year from. So when we think of agriculture, we think of the farmer who's on the tractor with the combine, cutting the wheat, harvesting the corn, and so forth. But it could be that vegetable garden producer who takes his product to the farmer's market. And if he makes $1,000 a year selling his vegetables, and say he's got a back injury or maybe he's got arthritis really bad, we through Agribility can assist that person in modifying his operation to make him be a little bit more successful and maybe be able to help him do that for a longer period of time. You could be a bee producer, and if you sell your honey locally and make at least $1,000 a year, maybe we can help you figure out ways on how to lift and move those boxes easier for you. So when we think about agriculture, it's not just the farmer on the tractor, it's anybody who's raising something from the earth, I guess is what you could say, okay? So our purpose is to do on-site review of the daily routines and tasks that are possible, share information, discuss with partners about problem-solving resources and funding, provide options for visiting with others who use these solutions, give them trial opportunities, and seek funding. So basically what we do is we actually would go out and meet with that farmer and his family and do an evaluation. And then we look at options. And a lot of times the farmers already know what they need or want. And sometimes they've already jerry-rigged something up, because they all know a little bit of welding, but it may not be the safest. So we try to give them options that might be a little bit more safer or more secure for them to do their work. After we do the evaluation and we talk to them about resources that are out there, we try to either give them videotapes so they can see, or talk to another farmer who maybe had a similar experience and these are the tools that they're using now. Or we can actually take them to sites and visit other situations that might be similar to theirs so that they know what options they have to make some decisions. And then we try to find funding. The AGRABILITY program does not pay for any of the modifications. We just are a resource to help you find funding options, and we try to do our best working with other agencies that we'll talk about. So we've got some case studies right here. The first one is from western Kansas. A rancher had difficulty walking, maintaining his balance on different surfaces, and had a hearing loss, probably due to chronic meningitis and other factors contributing to these issues, which we know being on the farm. What farmer do you know who's on a tractor or combine that doesn't have a hearing loss? Also, this farmer has an ag operation consisting of grain and crops and cattle, and that Kansas AGRABILITY staff met with the rancher and his wife, and there were no other family involved at that time, and we discussed procedures, partners, set goals, implemented plans, and evaluated our outcomes. So what we did is, after consensus was reached with the consumer and his wife, in this case, we contacted an occupational therapist who had experience with agricultural settings to evaluate the driving, the hand controls, the ability to use the hand controls, and so forth for this particular farmer. We consulted with Temple Gray out of the Colorado University because this had to do with cattle operation and fencing and so forth, and we'll get into that in a little bit more. And then we worked with Ag Mediation on getting some legal and financial services information. We worked with Voc Rehab and Kansas Works, and those were the two programs that helped us buy the equipment once it was determined what equipment we needed. So what we did is we replaced some heavy sliding shop doors now with overhead electric shop doors. We installed a concrete apron to the front of the shop. We also provided custom portable cattle panels. We provided a squeeze chute and a head gate, and then we provided a truck with a bed lift with a pickup and the pickup was upgraded to hold this special lift for the big round bales. And if I can, let me see if I could show you just a little video on that. But basically what the video is to show you that through the support of Kansas Works and Voc Rehab, they were able to buy the green, the panels, and then the red chute, and they customized and laid it out according to what Temple Grannon said in regard to what's less invasive to the cattle as they move through the pins and the chutes and so forth, okay? So that was one, this is an example of what we did for one farmer. Oh, and also, remember he had a hearing loss? We have a program called TAP, or Telecommunications Access Program, through the Assistive Technology for Kansas project. And with this program, we can, if you have any kind of a disability and you're a Kansas resident, you have phone service, and you make less than $55,000 a year per person, and then you can add on per extra people in your family, we can help you with a phone, a special phone. And I've got the applications back there, and I've got more information on it. But basically, for this farmer, we got him a caption phone. And what the caption phone is as a person talks to you on the phone, there's somebody in the middle or a computer who's typing away. And if he can't hear very well, he could see the text on the screen, okay? So that was another thing that we gave him. So that way he could talk to the grain elevator operators or whoever he needed to, to keep doing his farm work. We also provided him with some smoke alarms, with a strobe light, because we know when he goes to bed at night, he takes his hearing aids out, and he probably can't hear that smoke alarm go off, or maybe he can, but just in case, we have the extra security of having a strobe light. And we also have the option of providing bed shakers as well. So we had a program called where we where we actually provided smoke alarms into homes of anybody who lived there who had a hearing loss. And we still have some of those smoke alarms left over. So if you know of families who have anybody living in their home who has a significant hearing loss, and they need a smoke alarm with a strobe light, let me know, and we can give them that for free. We can't install it, but we could give it to them for free. And that was one thing that we helped this gentleman with as well. And then also with his, they worked with him on his cell phone, on some apps for emergency alerts like weather alerts and so forth, and provided assistance there. So another case that we had was with a Kansas farmer with a spinal cord injury. He had difficulty reaching, lifting, mobility, and access to machinery and working. He was diagnosed with paralegal. So he had some fine motor dexterity issues. He was an operator with grain and livestock, had some livestock. Our AGRABILITY person met with him and his girlfriend, and we discussed options. And I just might want to point out that we always try to meet with not just the farmer, but all the support in the home, because we know a farmer cannot survive on his own. He survives with that spouse or significant other and anybody else in that home to help that operation continue. So we try to meet with the whole family or team. And after consensus, it was decided to reach out to the Madonna Rehab Driving Program, again to evaluate driving options for this individual because of his fine motor issues. We worked with an ATV dealer. We worked with the local construction company and churches for some funding options. Voc Rehab with funding options. The farmer knew of a welder who can fabricate some of the items that he needed. The Travis Roy Foundation is a foundation that provides financial support to an individual who has a spinal cord injury. And the League of Human Dignity and the ATK Reuse Program. So that is where he got some support from. And with those, we were able to get him hand controls on a pickup, a tractor lift, a manual wheelchair used to get to the four-wheeler, and then this standing wheelchair that you see that he uses primarily in the house to get around. I mean, that would be helpful, like to stand up on counters, to stand up to get your file cabinet, so forth like that, not just out the farm. He used it in the house most of the time in this case. I've had some farmers use these wheelchairs that stand up and bring them into the standing position to work on their parts on the tractor and so forth, do mechanical work and so forth. So there's lots of ways that they could still do things that they normally couldn't have done just sitting in a low chair. We also provided front and back door ramp and driveway and sidewalks to get up to the ramp. Okay, a third case that we have an example of is a farmer in eastern Kansas has a spinal cord injury, and he wants to continue his cattle operation. He has crops, and he's considering a new agriculture venture. The agriculture staff met with him. He is an individual farmer. He has no other family, and we looked at the goals and what he wants to do. After consensus with the farmer, we reached out to the Veterans Administration, since he is a vet, and that's a really good resource for some of our farmers. The Voc Rehab program, Kansas Rehab Vocational Program, and then he also had hired help that he used to help him do some of his activities that he wanted to on the farm. And the solutions that we came up for him was a pilot lift for his trailer to access multiple devices. And basically what that is, he has a trailer that he attaches to the back of an ATV or a pickup, and it has a lift on it, and this lift will pick him up and put him into the tractor, into the combine, or whatever he's into. And if we can get the video going, I'll try to show you what those look like. A tractor for mowing and feeding cattle, and hand controls for his tractor. And then he wanted to try a new ag operation, and that had to do with walnut syrup. So with that, we were able to get him a four-wheel vehicle, and at the time, and I don't know where this is at, I'm not sure how this turned out, the sap operation to may have walnut syrup. You know, I need to find out, but, you know, I don't know how well it went. But anyway, that was something that he wanted to try. And we also looked at his home because, you know, in order to get out to farm, you've got to get out of bed, you've got to cook your meals, because he was alone. He did not have anybody helping him. So we had to look at some home modifications for the bathroom and especially the kitchen area and help him with those modifications. So those are just a couple examples. Just another one that I could think of that we worked with. Well, when I go, I'm going to talk to you about some of the things I have on my table, and I'll give you some more examples how we used them with our farmers. But these are the staff. In the state of Kansas, Tanny Larson is our coordinator, and she is based out of Kansas State University. And the ag specialists were kind of split up into 3 sections. I'm for the western Kansas area. In the central Kansas is Cassie Roman, and she covers the blue, if it shows up blue, and she covers the middle section. I'm not sure what color you see. And then Summer Spielman covers the eastern part of Kansas. And Sheila Simmons is our trainer for our project. Again, eligibility requirements, you have to be a Kansas farmer, rancher, agriculture worker. You have to have a disability or a chronic illness of some kind. You have to be involved in producing agriculture, either full-time, seasonal, part-time. And like I said, you have to make basically $1,000 a year, and then you qualify for the program. Services are provided to individuals interested in either beginning or sustaining their farming operation. And then we are also very involved with the veterans. We have a program that meets about every week, and on Fridays they take farm tours out of Fort Riley. And any veteran or even active duty person can get on that farm tour, and they go look at different things, and they're mostly in eastern Kansas just because Fort Riley's east. But they go to look at different kinds of farming operations, whether it's you know, a flower place or a vegetable garden or bees or all sorts of things. They have a little thing that they go to. So it's a really great program for the vets to find them, help them find, for some of those vets, once they're back from their service, it's really hard for them to connect and find a route and to help them heal and get going again. And they have found that farming and getting their hands in the dirt really helps them heal and move on. So that's why they do that program as well. To refer somebody to the Kansas Agribility program, you would call Tanny Larson. I have some cards back there, and then we have some phone numbers back there. And I just want to show you, we do have a website. Let me see if I can get you to our website. Anyway, we do have a state website. Here's our state website. And we've got resources on here, some videos on here. Let's see if I can get these to come up for you so you have an idea what they look like, of some of the modifications that we are able to do.
Kansas Agribility. Boom lift keeps Kansas rancher working. Customized boom lift with remote control.
First contacted by the vocational rehabilitation office in Chanute, and they said that Terry wanted to see just what we might be able to find as far as being able to help him with some of the situations on his ranch here. So I came up and we did a assessment. We discussed what we thought we might be looking at as far as the equipment that you wanted to be able to access, and what solutions we thought we might be able to come up with. I know when we first talked, we were looking at lifts for each individual piece of equipment.
Right.
And even at that, we thought that, you know, with those lifts, it was still kind of restricting just to that piece of equipment. And
Exactly.
kind of over the long haul, we thought that if we could come up with something in the way of a boom lift that would help Terry with access to his equipment, and also the idea that if somewhere along the line he decided to get rid of that piece of equipment, to trade it off or sell it, this way he doesn't lose the lift. This will be a piece of equipment that he can use for a long time, and ought to be a good help for him. Now we checked into several different possibilities as far as funding, but we got our funding through vocational rehabilitation, and we worked with Life Essentials, that the manufacturer of the lift, and they've done a real good job on it. And I talked with the people at Life Essentials and asked them about putting the boom on the trailer, and they said it was something that they hadn't done, but it sounded like something they could do, so they were able to do it.
Looked like it would do everything we wanted it to do, and it sure does. And you know, the ease of it working to just get you where it needs to get you, it's pretty amazing that they can make something like that.
So that's an example of the boom lift. So in this case, this individual couldn't bear weight anymore on his legs, and he needed something to physically transport him in kind of a sitting position. So with the boom lift that's hooked onto the back of a trailer, or it could be put onto a flatbed pickup, he's able to get into all sorts of farming equipment and still do the farming that he wants to do. I have another example of a different kind of lift here. This is a platform lift, and
Kansas Agribility.
I'm just going to, the platform lift is pretty popular for a person who can bear weight, but maybe not for a long period of time, or due to a back injury, it's really painful to be on their legs for a long time, or to do any stepping or climbing up and down. So they talked about Life Essentials in the last video. That is a vendor out of Illinois who makes some really awesome equipment for farmers, and if I can, I'll try to get to their website just to show it to you. But a lot of your really good welders are able to take this platform lift and make it their own. And I believe here in Hayes, you've got someone called, is it Leon's Welding? Does that sound familiar to anybody? He's able to make these lifts now for like a fraction of the cost of what the big vendor does. Okay, so, and I'm working with two farmers right now way down in the Oklahoma-Colorado border, and we're working with Voc Rehab to try to get these funded through and have them made by their local vendor.
Access to tractor.
Okay, this is Steve Hoover with the Kansas Agribility Project, and I'm talking here with one of our customers that we have worked with through Agribility. Robert, can you give us a little bit of your background as far as your farm operations and things that way?
Well, we run about 50 mama cows, and we do quite a bit of haying, put up between 500 to 700 bales a year. And then we do a little bit of planting wheat and soybeans.
Okay, and where did you first hear of Kansas Agribility?
Found it online.
Online,
Looking online for a lift, and anyway, just kind of by going through different modifications and stuff, I found it.
And then I know after you got in touch with me, we come out and we done a farm assessment as to your farm operations, and then possibly what kind of modifications we might be able to do on some of your equipment to make it a little easier for you, a little more workable. And let's see, what did we come up with?
We ended up
Try to find you showing him going up and down the lift. Here we go. Here's the lift.
It was Advanced Mobility.
Purchased the lift from them, and then had a welder over in Opolis, Gary Burton, did some changes on it to make it fit my tractor, and so got it put on, and
so here you can see it going down.
My name John Gagliardo wired it up.
Right, and we've got this lift, but we're still looking into some others too, aren't we?
Yes.
Try to see what other options we may be able to come up on. What was it, another tractor and a truck lift, right?
One of the ideas
And hopefully we can see what we can come up with there for you. But
So that's another
this is
example. Hand controls with vehicles, I think you guys are all pretty used to that. This is the Life Essentials website. And what we do is we kind of go to this website and get lots of ideas. We share those with our agriculture worker, and then we try to find a local vendor who could kind of do the same thing, you know, and it's a lot cheaper, a lot cheaper, because they do some really cool stuff. So here's a action track chair. That this chair, so with the track wheels, you know, it can go to outside on all sorts of surfaces. It can actually stand up, so you can work on your machinery and repair work. This is a little all-terrain scooter. They've got hand controls here. These are their flatbed lifts that they sell, and those run for about $36,000, and you still have to buy your own pickup. So, but, you know, if we can get some support from Folk Rehab and other agencies, we're able to fund those. And we've got some farmers in Kansas who do have these, because you saw that one video. So it's a great resource to get that farmer back in the tractor somehow, or in that combine somehow. I met a young man who has the middle one, that boom lift. He's from Nebraska, and he's in his 20s, and he's farming. And through Life Essentials and funding, he has a pickup with this boom lift. And he said that last summer he put a 96 or 95-year-old man, farmer, into the combine because he wanted to be in the combine for the last time. So I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, so these are some resources that we have, and this is how we try to help farmers get back into the field, or if they're a vegetable garden producer, finding ways that they can lift and carry their produce and so forth like that. And if I could have the lights on over there, I just want to go over some things on my table real quick. You've got the AGRABILITY brochure. The other brochure is the Assistive Technology for Kansas project. And I have plenty over here if you're interested. But like I said, AGRABILITY is a federal program, and we are under the Assistive Technology for Kansas project. And Assistive Technology for Kansas works with Birth Through Life. We have all sorts of little programs that we work with. We have a statewide loan program where we can loan materials out to people and let them borrow it. And then the point is, if it works for them, then we could give them funding sources to try to buy it. What I have over here is just some agricultural tools, some ergonomic tools. So I brought this little seat that you could sit on, and it actually adjusts to different heights. I have some wolf tools here, and basically what you do is you buy the handle that you want, and then you buy all the attachments that you want. So they're thicker, easier to hold, easier to grab on. They are not weighted though, okay? They are very light for maybe an older person who doesn't want it to be very heavy. This is a cedar up here that I could attach and put other things on, but this one also is an extender. So this would be great for a person who, they put their seeds in here, and maybe they can't bend over anymore, but they still want that vegetable garden. So they could still plant their seeds, and then when they need to hoe, I didn't bring a hoe, but they could put their hoe on here, or their rake, or whatever else they need to do to still work and till their garden. So if you're interested, I do have some great little resources here called Arthritis in Agriculture and Arthritis and Gardening, these two. And I have, if you have a vision loss, a wonderful rain gauge. But you know, now with technology, a lot of your phones will tell you how much rain was in this area and that area and so forth. So this is kind of obsolete, but it's still kind of cool to see. And so it doesn't fall down. This is a level indicator that you could install on your grain bin. And you would install this from the outside. You do not have to get inside the grain bin to do this. And once the grain is full, it comes yellow. And when the grain is lower than that point where this leveler is mounted, it turns black. And the new ones now actually have a light on them that lights up to let you know that the grain is full or whatever. So anyway, just a tool so that you don't have to climb in stuff to see how full your grain bin is. These are magnetic gloves. So these are really great that if you're doing something and it's really hard for you to bend down or pick up, maybe you don't have really good fine motor skills anymore. With these gloves, if you wear them, all you have to do is like bend down and you can pick up your nails and so forth with these. They also have a wrist unit that you could put on your wrist that's magnetic to pick up items, or it has a hip unit too to wear on your belt or your pants. I have some weighted tools that you can come and look at, some special gloves. I have, like I said, I do have some smoke alarms yet for people who, if you know, especially in your line of work, if you know some people who are living, especially alone, who need a smoke alarm in their home. You know, we all know every 5 years or 10 years we should switch them out, and they don't get switched out. But I do have some of these that if you know of somebody who has a hearing loss and you know they can get help to install this, I have these to give away for free from our project. I was telling you about the TAP program where you can get free a phone. So this is our brochure, and I have applications. But basically, there's all sorts of phones out there now. And if you still have a landline, we give you an option of a cordless phone. We also have emergency dialer phones that you connect to a wrist unit, or either for your wrist or wear around your neck, that you could program that when you push that button, it dials certain people's numbers to get help. Those phones are free. You just have to still pay for your landline service. I've worked with a number of individuals due to their vision loss. They have what they're called, voice dialers. So when they pick up their phone, it says number to call, and you say call Johnny, it'll dial Johnny because you've got it programmed in there. So due to their vision loss, they can't even see the numbers anymore, but they can use their voice still, and they can still call somebody that they want to call. So we've got landlines, and we also now cover cell phones, and we provide up to $450 for a phone. You could either pick your Android phone or a iOS phone or an iPad. So, because with Skype and FaceTime, you can make your phone calls that way instead of a phone. So we have that service. You have to be a Kansas resident, and I've got the qualifications, but we have a lot of people who are using this. And basically, when you, like all of you guys probably have a phone, and you pay us a monthly fee, about 80 to 90 cents of that fee goes to this program. And I've worked with a lot of, especially my conservative farmer, just because that's what they are, or my conservative, especially older people. Oh, they don't want anybody to know their name or their address or anything like that. But when I tell them that you're already paying for this service, you might as well get a phone that you can hear on or see the buttons or have the buttons talk to you, So once they do that, once they hear that, they kind of go, oh, well, if I'm already paying for this, I might cash in on it. We do have a phone, too, that's kind of unique in the fact that it has a button on it that says slow talk. So if you've got kids or relatives who call and they talk really fast and the person can't hear because it's so fast, they push that button and it actually slows the speech down so that hopefully they can hear. So lots of options out there in regard to phones, and it's a free service that we have. So I've got like this little measuring tape for a person who maybe has a vision loss. It would tell me,
error, tape
well, I need to turn it on.
1/16 of an inch.
So when I pull it out,
10 and 5/16.
it tells me how long this is. And so this would be great. This would be really great for a person who is losing their vision or has some vision issues, but they still like carpentry work or something like that. This one has, let me turn that one off. This one has a memory button that when you measure, maybe you can read this, but due to a stroke or other memory issues, you just can't remember. Okay, we hope it turns off in 5 seconds. Due to a memory loss or memory issues, you can't remember how long was it. You measure twice, cut once. Well, with this, there's a recorder on here, and you can record what your distance is, and then when you go back and ready to cut, you can listen to that recording. So there's just a couple of tools out here. I am working with an individual who, we had an individual who was a farmer, and due to an ATV accident, he had an ATV accident, but then the real problem was the anhydrous cable broke and he became blind. And so he really couldn't do any more farming at that time, but we taught him how to read the elevator bills and anything that came in from the mail, or read his email through the computer. So we helped him get a computer, we helped him get software that would read the text, the internet to him, his email to him, and so forth. And so that was just one example. We had another one who, maybe due to MS, he did stuff on the computer, but it was really hard for him. So there's arm supports out there like this that you could attach to your table, that you can rest your arm on and still move your mouse and have access to your computer. This keyboard would be for somebody who is starting to have a vision loss, that you can get the whole keyboard that's colored like this, or you can actually buy little dots or actually letters that you put on top of your current keyboard. Maybe you like your keyboard, you know where everything's at, but every once in a while you can't see some of those letters or numbers, or they've rubbed off. You could buy the dots that are colored, either yellow or black or white, to help you find those keys again. And right now I'm working with an individual who's in a wheelchair, and he uses, in his head support are the controls to operate his wheelchair, but he also, before his illness, had a crop consulting business, and he sells seed corn. So right now he's got his computer set up with a head mouse system. So he's using the camera in the computer, and this is an old model before there were cameras in computers. But basically, if this was his computer, the camera is on, and he has a silver dot on his cap. And by using his head, he's able to control his mouse, and he's still able to do his seed sales through the computer. So it's a way of keeping him still involved in agriculture and doing the work that he loves to do and that he's already had set up and going. So I've got lots of brochures, things for you to see. If you've got some questions, you could come ask me. I'll try to answer you. And I just want to say thank you for your service that you do.
Anybody have any questions for Karin before we go on to lunch? Sorry. I didn't get to introduce myself earlier. I'm Stephanie Eckroat, and I'm with the Ellis County Farm Bureau, and I worked with Austin and Kevin and Jason to kind of put this whole shindig on, and I'm really glad that they came to us and wanted to do this. It's kind of a cool project.